Hey, welcome back to Conversations on the Commission. This is a podcast that talks about the topics, the trends, and issues in missions, and those things that impact both the missionary and the churches they partner with. I am Tony Bulawa.
And hello, everyone. I am Stephen Maldoff. Our first episode, our maiden voyage that, Tony, you and I made, we were covering the question about mission boards. Obviously, we work for a mission board, and we tried to tackle that question that both of us have been asked and has been asked many, many times about, are mission boards biblical?
Yeah.
And
well,
hopefully we have provided enough of an answer to show that they do have merit.
Yeah.
And that there is biblical principles that definitely, I think, can support the idea of mission boards.
Yeah, hopefully we did that from a biblical perspective and came back and showed some things from the scriptures where there was definitely the principle of those who worked in between the ministry of the Apostle Paul and the local church and facilitated both as they partnered together to get the gospel out. And we spoke about credibility and that first person that Paul mentions, that unnamed brother, and how he was a credible person. 2 Corinthians chapter 8, and we spoke about accountability, and in our day and age, accountability not only to local churches in the missionary, but to local governments all around the world. And then spoke about, how mission boards assist missionaries and local churches in getting their missionaries into a country that the Lord's called them to, or maybe getting them out in emergency situations as well. And so today, I think we're planning to talk about dealing with some of those issues why a individual called of God may choose not to partner with a mission board. And so we've talked about some of those things. Why don't you start off and talk about some of those things, why an individual, at least in our experience, chooses not to partner with a mission board?
Yeah, and may we say that as we go into this topic, we realize definitely that there are some great missionaries out there that don't utilize a mission board. They are no less of a missionary. They're, we don't think that they're making a wrong decision as far as ethically, morally, or biblically. It's just, obviously we see benefits for a mission board. Both you and I work for one, so we see definite benefits there. And as I've talked with people, again, people say, well, why should I go with a mission board? My sending church can do the job of what a mission board offers. I do think that there are definitely some reasons that people put forth. Why only go as a sent missionary from the church, not utilizing the efforts and assistance of a mission board? I think one of the primary ones, and I hear this all the time, is the idea of money.
Right.
Meaning, specifically, they say, why should I raise money to go towards a mission board? Why am I using time and effort on my deputation, on my raising money for my support, that's going to go strictly into the pockets of a mission board to do their job? That's time, that's effort, that's months sometimes even of raising money that missionary will never personally see. Yeah. And so they say, why should I do that?
Yeah. Well, that might be the perceptive of some who don't have the experience of partnering with a mission board. And obviously, every mission board's different on how they approach that and the finances. The bottom line is this, though. Mission boards don't get to operate for free. The lights don't get turned on here in our building for free just because we're a mission board, any more than a local church has its electricity provided for free because they're a church. And so there's obviously cost, but I think that maybe people haven't taken the time to maybe look into what those costs are and how they vary from mission board to mission board, and also understanding that even if you were out of your local church, somebody has to provide that. Maybe the local church has the ability to pay a secretary for the extra hours of processing funds or taking care of insurance. Maybe they don't. I don't know that it's reasonable to expect that somebody can always do those things for free and not be compensated, because I don't know that anybody has that kind of time in their schedule to do those things.
And especially when you think that, okay, most churches only have one family maybe sent out of their church, and so okay, that may work for them. But both you and I know some churches also that have 3,
Sure.
4, even 5 families that are sent out of that church, and so now you're increasing. You're almost going to have a full-time secretary
Right.
who is going to process the checks that come in,
Mm-hmm.
from the churches for the support of that missionary. They got to turn around and send that out and things. So you're adding staff,
Right.
and so that somebody's got to cover that staff costs and things. I would say definitely one of the things I've heard, and it's hard to put this in generalities because there's so many differences amongst mission boards, as you said.
Right.
We do know mission boards that have the stipulation that you have to raise a certain percentage of your support that goes directly to the mission board.
Mm-hmm.
Others may do a voluntary basis, like, hey, if you want, you can raise money to help us.
Yeah.
But it's an unspoken, thing, like, hey, we really want you to, but it's under the guise of donations only kind of thing.
And also, I think that most missionaries, generally speaking, have a giving heart and want to actually, I think, do what is the biblical thing. Workman is worthy of his hire, and really help in some way support that person that's providing the services that a mission board does provide to its missionaries.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I think you're right. Nobody expects to get everything just for free. Even missionaries, though we look for a lot of handouts and always looking for the discount, I think people understand that.
Yeah.
I think what somewhat gives a bad eye to mission boards in regards to it is somewhat the corporate world perspective.
Right.
I know just in my own research that it is kind of the cumulative number that people use of their money for operating budget for nonprofits is somewhere between 15 to 40%. Now, I know that's a wide range, 15 to 40% of your operating budget being used for the administrative costs and things.
Right.
So like when someone gives to a charity, you like to think all of it's going, but not all the time. And so when you have church giving, they want to say, hey, I'm giving to help that missionary. I'm not giving to help some office in some state somewhere. I know, again, surveys, looking at the corporate world, of course, which is where surveys are typically done, they say that 23% is what the average person is typically okay with for a company to use for overhead costs for a nonprofit business. And that the rest of it, needs to kind of go towards the goal of whatever they're giving for, whatever the need or cause is that they're doing.
Yeah. Well, 23%, to me, that initially even sounds a little bit high. If I give $100 to a charity, to think that 23 of those dollars stay behind and not making it to the source, that even sounds a little bit high. But then when I begin to realize corporations have expenses and people have to be paid and electric bills and insurance bills and all those kind of things. But, one of the things that we really, if I can use the term, pride ourselves on here at BIMI is that each year our man who's in charge of our accounting and all the finances will give us a report, and the auditors come in and give the report of how much of the funds that come into BIMI are used for that kind of general operating cost. And just verified with him again that we sit at about 3% of all the funds that come into BIMI are used for general operating expenses, and that is the turning on the lights and paying the water bill, paying the insurance for the property, all of those things, and also paying just a very small number of people who are actually paid staff members. One of the things that's maybe a misconception I know that I encounter a lot as a director with BIMI, I go into a church and the people and the pastor automatically assume you're a director with BIMI, you've got this great salary. No, there's no salary.
Yep, amen, there's no salary.
Just that missionary support, just like a regular missionary. People are surprised a lot of times when I tell them they actually give me an office and say, if you'd like furniture, buy it. And,
that's how it goes here.
but I understand why we do that, because we want to make sure the maximum amount of money that comes in gets channeled right back out into missions. Out of that 3%, some of that is actually designated for our overhead cost, our general fund. So when you think of the what a missionary contributes voluntarily, that becomes, I think, an even smaller percentage as you really consider that some of the money coming in has already been designated for that.
Yeah, because churches sponsor or support BIMI as a mission board, so they're actually, saying, hey, as well as giving to missionaries, we are giving to help you, and so that's made up of that money. I know that we, of course, need money, as you said, but one of the things I think that surprises people is that we have so little overhead costs, as you said, 3%. How we work it here, just for everyone know the secret sauce of BIMI, and I think this is something we can pride ourselves on, is that there's a very small fee for transactions over $20. And I explain it this way, because I've been going out for the last couple of years raising money for Papua New Guinea Bible distribution. We've raised millions of dollars. And some people think, oh, you must be raking in the money on this. And it's like, no, let's explain. If someone gives us a check for $50, only thing BIMI takes out of that is $3.25, which is used for the processing, like bank processing, as well as some minor expenses around the office. If someone gave us a check of $300,000, all we're taking out is $3.25. So we're not
give more. Give more.
Exactly. So we're not taking a percentage. We're not taking a percentage of money. So there is a great comfort to churches. Like you're saying, people want to make sure their money goes towards the missionary.
Right.
Hey, if that church gives a lot of money towards that missionary, we are only taking $3.25. That's not changing based on the amount that they give. It's a flat rate across the board.
Yeah.
And I think people are surprised when they hear that, actually.
Yeah, and honestly, when you think of your own personal expenses and what your bank charges you to do business with them and go in and cash a check or anything, I know that banks I deal with don't do that for free anymore. They used to say, well, a certain number of transactions are included and all that kind of stuff. Not anymore. And, you think $3.25 out of a transaction, a lot of that, we're not getting that. The bank is going to require that of somebody.
Yes. Hopefully it helps people understand. And again, that's our situation here at BIMI. Other mission boards do different. So I can see why sometimes people raise it as a point of argument of why not to use mission boards. But I like the system we have here, and I think it kind of diffuses some of the heat around the issue of money. I think another thing that often that I hear about why somebody's going to go to is just be sent out of their church versus using a mission board is authority. Right. Who is the person who gets to have the say so in the ministry and of that missionary? Meaning this, sometimes there are mission boards out there that will dictate kind of where you go. Hey, we need you to serve over here in this country, or we need you to work with that missionary, or hey, we have a large amount of missionary families over in country A, so because of that, we want to direct you over to country B instead. That does happen. There's no doubt it does happen. And it creates some of that controversy of, I don't want to go with the mission board because I don't want to be told what to do.
Right. Well, I think it does happen, and maybe we have a conversation about what our thoughts are on regarding that at a different time. But as far as BIMI is concerned, when a missionary makes application to come as a candidate with BIMI, they are already heading to a field. Their church is already behind them in that. They can't even really get through the application process unless their pastor and their sending church are already behind them, not only as a missionary, but where they're headed to the mission field. And so when they come to us, we may have some suggestions about their first term about, hey, it might be good to work with this individual missionary who's got some experience and help you along as you're getting adapted to culture and language and all those kind of things. But ultimately, we don't tell people this is the place you're going to serve. They come to us and say, God has called me to this place. And then we go through that process and say, yes, we see that as well, and we want to partner with you and help you and facilitate both you and your church in getting you to that place that God's called you to.
I do like that word, we facilitate, because that's what we're here to facilitate. We're not dictators. Even I think our title that we have is field directors. It's not necessarily even directing people. It's almost a misnomer. We're more field advisors, field counselors. We have some of the experience, obviously, and so we try to use that experience to encourage them. We're not so much directing, saying you have to do this or you have to do that. And so it creates somewhat of a wrong impression in people's minds about what mission boards do. I know I like to work, as well as you and our entire company, work hand in hand with the sending church.
Sure.
There's been so many times, if there be a problem on the field, if there be an issue, that missionary may contact me and talk to me about it, but I'm going to also try to bring in that sending pastor and their home church that they know them. They're the ones who kind of commissioned them to go to the field. So I want to use them and their personal connection with that missionary to try to help out and assist with the situation going on.
Yeah, I think that, as you mentioned, director, most of my conversations with missionaries that I work with in Canada, Greenland, Alaska, at some point or another has included that very idea. I know that they call me the Far North Director, but really I don't see myself as a director in any way, shape, or form. I like what you said. We come by, we help with counsel and advice and do what we can to help a missionary get to the field and then stay on the field. That's for sure. That's not really what we do, I don't think, though we have the title. I don't know that it exactly fits.
Let's change our titles all because of this podcast.
But then the second thing is when a missionary calls me and is looking for advice, and I know this is true with you and with our other directors, probably in the first, if it's not the first question, it's probably in the second or third, what does your sending pastor think about this situation that you're presenting to me? And, we're always bringing it back to that place where we are just really a partner with the missionary, but also a partner with that local church pastor who's the sending pastor, and going back and working with them hand in hand to make sure that we understand biblically the authority rests with the local church, and that we just have the privilege to come alongside and help. And yet maybe because of some of those experiences that God has given to us, we can present the pastor and the missionary with some information that maybe they haven't considered because they haven't encountered it, and then make a more informed decision. There's safety in a multitude of counselors. And so I think that a lot of times that's what we do.
Absolutely. And especially, working, again, hand in hand with the churches, we have the experience of being overseas. We have the experience of living in the different cultures. We even have the experience of what life is like as a missionary, raising support, being on the field, so on and so forth.
Still do.
That's right. That sending pastor may not have those experiences, and so we can try to bring in our counsel and advice to that pastor with that missionary, the experiences that we have gained through the years to say, look, this is what's going on. Because what works in America doesn't always work overseas.
Right.
So it's not in any way us usurping authority or saying this is how it's got to be done. But there is definitely some experience and wisdom that is gained from our international experience. And so we try to help the missionary and try to help the sending church with that. We definitely see it as a partnership entirely. Just see it as a partnership between churches, the mission board, and the missionaries. I know that, again, the three main kind of arguments that sometimes people use about why they're not going to go with the mission board is the money. We've talked about that. The authority, who's going to tell me what to do, and then even just the relationship aspect. Hopefully, we've been able to kind of cover some of those things and explain kind of what really is going on rather than just the misconceptions of what's going on. Particularly with our mission board here.
Right. And I think that, we didn't maybe have as much time as we had hoped to speak about that relationship aspect, but just to kind of bring it back just for a second, I think as directors here with BIMI, all of us constantly are encouraging our missionaries in our conversations with them, in our communication with them, to make sure that they have that strong bond with their sending church, their local pastor, always referring back there, and including always that local church and pastor. And I appreciate those sending pastors who include me in that conversation as well, because I recognize they do that really voluntarily. They don't have to do that. And so I just count it a privilege to be able to come in and be a part of that conversation with them and hopefully give them some information that can help them make a decision that, not that I have to necessarily be 100% in agreement with, but that a decision that is something that's going to, as we've said, get the missionary to the field, and then, as important, keep him on the field or
Absolutely.
her on the field.
Absolutely. I mean, I know we could talk about this forever. There's so many things. I think we've covered some of the biggies about this topic. And so I look forward to our next episode, whatever we end up talking about there. I encourage everyone out there to download, subscribe to Conversations on the Co-Mission. You can find it at all your favorite podcast spots there. No matter if you're an Apple person or if you're an Android person or everything in between, hopefully we can be found at your favorite spot. So look for us there. And then if you ever want to contact us, feel free. You can email me, Stephen, at seadirector@bimi.org, or you can email Tony, farnorthdirector@bimi.org. Or just simply want to check out BIMI, go to www.bimi.org. All those things will be listed there also in the show notes, so you don't have to hit rewind to catch all that information there.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing you don't have to hit rewind. In fact, my teenage daughters say, Dad, by the time you get to giving out that information, I'm on to something else. I'm going to read your show notes. And so they'll be there. And thanks for letting us have this few minutes with you. And hopefully it's a help to you and a blessing to you. We look forward to our next conversation with you about missionaries and churches and how we partner together to accomplish the Great Commission. Until then, have a great week and God bless.